Today we're going to create a health bar for the player. So in the canvas we have set up, we've already created a panel for the player stats. Now we're going to go to the UI and make a new image. This will be for our health display. So we're going to go to name that health. And the actual sprite that we're going to use is going to be a rounded rectangular sprite. This will be our health bar. So I already have that created. As you can see, it's really tiny. And it would be very bad to have that be our health bar. So let's go and increase the size. I'm going to play around with this just a bit. I want it to be easy for the player to see. That way that they can just glance out of the corner eye and see how much health they have without having to focus on it too much. And I also want it to be wide enough where they have plenty of health and they don't feel like they're constantly losing health all the time. This looks about right for now. We can always change it later, but this looks like a good amount of health so far. And I'm going to set the background of this to be the same as the one from our oxygen bar. And this way when the health bar is empty and the oxygen bar is empty, they'll have the exact same empty color. So that's what this is for. So I'm going to go ahead and color pick that, and you can see here now it's the exact same color. But I also want to match the transparency. So I could eyeball it, but I want to get the exact one. So let's go check, see what that is. So on our oxygen bar, there is our transparency. I'm just going to make sure it's the exact same. I'm going to try to keep some consistency with that so it's not visually jarring to the player. And there we go, that's the empty health bar. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this, name it health filled, and this will be the actual color to show how much health the player has. So for this one, we're going to go with a pinkish color. And this is similar to the typical red for health, but the pink will give it a more stylized sci-fi approach, and that'll go with some of the elements that we're using in the game. We're going to have elements corresponding to this. For the image type, I'm going to create this filled, and this time it's going to be horizontal. And you can see now instead of being a radial circular pattern, it is going kind of sideways. And that's exactly what we want for our health bar. You can see where it goes empty and full. That's exactly what we want for this. So that's pretty much that set up. Just like our oxygen bar, we're going to go ahead and create a text box to actually say health. That way it's immediately obvious that this is the health bar. Later on we will also add a percentage for the actual number. I think it's always nice to have multiple visual ways to see something. So yes, we'll be able to see the actual progress as the bar is sliding, but we'll also be able to see the number later on as well, which will be very helpful. Right now you can see that the actual text isn't showing up, and that's currently because it's being hidden by that pink bar. So in your hierarchy you can just kind of change that around. You can see it's there, but it's being hidden for some reason. And that's where you can just change it in the hierarchy, move it around, and then you should be able to see eventually that it's there. You can see me struggle with this for a little bit, and there it is, fixed. So now for our text, our health, we want to actually change it to the same font as our oxygen tank, so everything's matching. I'm going to make sure it's the same size. I'm going to kind of center it, make it visually appealing. And just like our oxygen text, I want to make that white, just so it stands out. And let's see how it looks with it filled and with it empty. Just make sure the text looks good. And I think that looks good. You can see the health both on the pink and the gray. The last thing is, instead of keeping it on the bottom, I've actually decided that I might want the player stats to go on the top of the screen. So I'm going to change the pivot point of this, and I'm going to anchor it to the top middle of the screen, that whole panel. And play around with the exact locations for this, but I think that works a lot better. That way it's not blocking the player's view of anything. It'll just be kind of at the top there when the player needs to see how much oxygen or how much health they have.